Election Day 2020. This is the American Contractor Show. I'm your host, John Dye, and thank you so much for joining us today on this beautiful November 3rd, 2020, where we are about to find out the results later tonight, hopefully, of this election. But you never know. They keep saying that it could happen today, it could happen tomorrow. We don't know, but we're going to hope that it happens today. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. I feel extremely patriotic today. Got out early this morning, got to vote. I hope you've already voted, or if not, you're voting today, and that you guys are participating in the election process. It's an extremely important process and extremely American, and that's what we're all about here. This is the American Contractor Show. So I'm going to share today a really cool interview I had with Adam Buttorff. Adam is a renowned author, also the owner of Renown Construction in Dallas, Texas. He has a phenomenal business. They're doing just really great stuff and helping the industry out. But what I really want to talk to today, and who I really want to talk to, is I want to talk to the solopreneurs. Those of you guys that are out there, maybe you have a few people working with you, but overall you're a small company, but you have a desire to become bigger. You have a desire to grow and scale your business. Adam is one of the most he's one of the best and gifted minds when it comes to how to actually have people in your business and learn how to work together and build something that's bigger than yourselves. So if you don't mind, guys, join me. We're going to start this episode of the American Contractor Show. Welcome to the American Contractor Show, the show that's all about American contractors living the American dream. I'm your host, John Dye. Each episode will introduce you to contractors just like you who have beaten the odds and leveled up their game to become the dominant force in their markets. Together, we'll explore the tools and tactics that unlock the secrets to their success. Join me as we begin the journey that leads to the realization of your American dream. Adam, I'm so thankful that you're here today. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background, because one of the most fascinating stories I've heard in the industry, and I'd hate to mess it up, so I'll let you do that.
Well, thanks, John. I appreciate it. And I love how you said it's a renowned author, because my company's Renown Roofing and Construction.
That's right.
Appreciate the big punch there. But I'm Adam Buttorff. I own Renown Roofing and Construction here in Dallas. And I didn't come from a roofer or even in construction. That wasn't my background, as a lot of people do. I came from a business background. I came from owning different types of businesses. And then through 2008-ish, 9-ish, when the kind of market crashed and the businesses that I was involved in crashed as well, I was like, okay, I got to figure out what I'm going to do here. And that's how the Lord led me into roofing, right? Because let's be honest, when we think of roofing, we don't think of this cool, sexy thing, right? It's not, I grew up want to be a roofer. Really, it's about, you want to be these cool acronyms or cool things you want to be as you grow up. But I need to be humbled. So I got totally humbled, right? I lost both my businesses in 2009 totally. And then that's launched me into coming into roofing. Figuring I'd do this for a few months. So I figured out what my next steps were, what my next business would be. And guess what? I'm still here. And it's been a crazy trajectory. I launched the company. And since then, we hit the Inc. 5000, the fastest growing companies, 2 years in a row. I mean, it's been amazing. It's been a crazy fun ride, and I love the industry. I love the people in it. And so that's a little of my story. I don't want to go too long into that, but
yeah, if you don't mind though, what industries were you in before roofing?
Yeah, so I actually had a in-home personal training business, and I had a house flipping business. And so I was doing both of those at the same time. And
that's really cool. And I'm always fascinated when people come from other industries into the construction space, because I'm a contractor, like third, fourth generation. Like, this is what my family understands. This is what I've always been around. But I think there's so much value when someone like you comes into our space, because you guys have a whole different perspective, and we can learn a lot from your perspective and your business acumen. A lot more than we can from other people a lot of times within our space.
It's interesting you say that, because even people are like, well, you did flipped houses. I said, listen, I can change a light switch and a light bulb, and that's about the max. I managed people. That's how I
Right.
did that business. So just for clarification.
And that's the reality. That's what all of the businesses are today. It doesn't matter what context you operate in. You manage people. You're
Absolutely.
going to building a business is all about people. And I think that our industry is full of a lot of solopreneurs and a lot of people that are very, kind of stuck in the way that they do things. And so I'm really interested to get your perspective on, how it is that, contractors should be going to approach when they're approaching their employees or their coworkers or partnerships or any type of relationships that go into building a business.
Absolutely. So John, I would say this is you hit it right on the head when you said that any business you do, it's about the people. And so for me, it was about my people. And so I invest in my people and my team. And so when I look to build a business, I look for what I call business partners, people that would not necessarily in the classic form of that, but in the form of people that are good at what they do, they're trustworthy, and so therefore we can partner together, them being my employee and I'm the boss, but we're really partnering together, and I'm engaging them and their talents and their ideas into the company, how we grow. I'll give a great example of this real quick. So my telephone number for my company is 972 Quality. It's just a nice, easy vanity number or whatever, right? And so that idea didn't come from me. It came from one of my sales guys years ago as I was engaging my team, like, hey, let's come up with some ideas. Anything you've got. I had a brainstorming session of like, hey, what ideas might you have that would improve us? And one of them came up with an idea of a vanity number because we're local here. I said, okay, well, give me some ideas. We ran through ideas and came across that number. And lo and behold, now I have that number and I've had it for years. And so I tell my team a lot, and it looks like this, John, is if you only want the great ideas to come from me, we're going to be slow moving. Okay. The great ideas come from a conglomerate of others, all of us together, working together. Right. When you look at anything in history, anybody's accomplished anything great in life, never did it alone. Everybody has had a team, people behind them, people working with them. Even I love even going back to like Henry Ford days. They said I remember a story of the council was coming in and questioning him on a bunch of stuff. And he goes, wait, stop. He goes, give me a minute. And he paraded 6 of his high-level people in there with him. He goes, now, if you want to ask us anything, go ahead, ask them, because my team is the one who answers it, not me. I'm not an expert or Superman in every area of my life or every area of my business. If you run that way, which, like you said, a lot of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, think it's all on my shoulders. Only I can do it. There's this thing called a wall that you're going to hit, a ceiling that you're going to hit right up against it really fast, because you can only do so much. And let's be honest, nobody's good at everything. So there's parts of the business that I stink at. Why would I want to do that all day, day in and day out, when I know there's other people in this world who are naturally gifted and wired for those things? Another great example. I am not gifted in administration at all. It's not my strength. So I have 2 ladies in the office that's what their strength is. That's what they love doing, and they thrive on it. So when volume increases, more administrative comes up, they're on it. No problem. Doesn't stress them out. Man, administration, if it has to increase on me, lots of stress for me, because I'm not wired that way. I'm not actually gifted that way. And so understanding your teams, how they're wired, look at it as you're in this together. You're a team effort. I'll use sports. Great. We all love sports. Football's on right now, so let's talk about football. Just because you got a great.
Are you sure you want to talk about football? Wait.
No,
I mean, you're in Dallas
right now. I know we're in a bad mood there. So where are you living? Okay, Cowboy fans, sorry, but this is a terrible year for us. Lost Dak, and boy, all heck broke loose. But that being said, is an entire football team is not made up of one player. Just because you had a great quarterback, if you don't have any good receivers or any good running backs or people to block and protect him, he's going to stink, right? It takes the full team to do it. And so many of us get locked in and saying, oh, I can only do it this way. And I've heard it said this way, John. It's greatly said. as an entrepreneur, nobody will, because we think nobody's ever going to do it as good as I'm going to do it. And so if we realize that's at first a lie, but since we don't believe that, then we say, okay, maybe someone's not going to do it as passionately as I am because I own the company, but someone's going to do it good enough. And the truth is, there's others going to do it better than me because they're naturally wired for it. And they would actually enjoy that. So why wouldn't you let them do that?
Mm-hmm.
Not only do it, let them own it. So it's taken a position of this. I've got 5 team members, just say 5 team members, small group. Take 3, 5, whatever it is, and say, look, let's assess everybody's strengths and things they enjoy doing. Now let's look at all the tasks of the company of what we need to get done and what needs to happen and whose strengths fall where. Now, it's called work for a reason because, not everything is always enjoyable. But if you can get most of the things you do in your wheelhouse, like I love public speaking, I love coaching, I love helping contractors, right? My office admin staff, that would be murder for them if they had to do anything like this. They'd be like, no, don't make me do it. I'm like, what? This is amazing. I love it. It's just fantastic. It feeds me. It fuels me. Not them. They're wired differently. Great. Let them flourish in what they're naturally gifted in, and I'll flourish what I'm gifted in. And guess what? Man, it makes this proverbial wheel of life and business run really, really smooth.
I totally agree with you. I'm just trying to understand, though, and it's been this dilemma in my mind for so long, is what is it that causes solopreneurs to struggle so much with bringing on people and understanding how it is that they can do that?
Here's the biggest thing is because they've all hired somebody that screwed them or dealt with somebody that has screwed them. And so they don't trust anybody, and they have a huge fear that they're going to repeat that. So they think the only person I can really trust is myself. And that's a really sad place to be. It's like the single guy that never gets married because he can't trust a woman. Well, that's sad for you because when you have a happily marriage, man, it's amazing, wonderful, great thing, right? And so to help with that, bring others in to help you. All right. But one of the things I love helping and coaching teams, specifically solopreneurs, in is there's a system you can do to how people are wired, where they're gifted at, and then also it's the old adage here: inspect what you expect.
Right.
If they can grasp that, you don't have to know every detail, but if you put measurements in place called checks and balances, right? We do with accounting stuff, put checks and balances in place to make sure they can't just run away and screw things up totally. Here's a great example. I tell my team when I hire them, and I tell them repeatedly all the time, I said, listen, I don't care if you make mistakes. I get it. We all make mistakes. Just own up to it right away and share it with me. That builds trust, and we can move forward and grow from it. It's when you hide them, then that's wrong. So in my paperwork of every single person I've ever hired, I have a line where they have to initial and sign next to it. Says, if you ever lie to me, you're automatically fired. You can call me a jerk. You can yell at me. You can do anything you want. Just don't ever lie to me, because it's about trust. If we trust each other, great. I've had my team members walk in my office, tell me, you're going to fire me. I'm like, why? He goes, well, I did this, and you're going to fire me for this. I start laughing. I'm like, no, I'm not. Some of them were pretty horrendous. I'm like, you did what? It wasn't intentional. It was a mistake, right? And so I have no problem working through mistakes. We all get them. So that I take the ownership of like, okay, I didn't train you properly or prepare you properly for that role. And so therefore, it really falls on me as the owner if it's a genuine mistake. But that builds trust with me, and I can work with that. And so it's about how to establish trust with others incrementally. You don't walk in for someone you don't know and give them the keys of the kingdom, right? But they earn that trust over time, and you take care of them.
Right.
You've heard this said, and everybody's heard this said. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you got to care about your team. You got to really involve with them, taking them to lunch, spend time to get to know them. I do this weird thing called the love form, right? I name it because it's so awkward and so weird, but people love it. My team loves it. And what it is, it just asks a bunch of questions. What's your favorite coffee? What kind of favorite drink do you like from Starbucks? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite smell? If you could fill a perfect lunch, what would it be? Just stuff like that. So if I want to do something special for my team, like, hey, I'm going to grab my team Starbucks this morning. I pull up that love form and say, oh, this is exactly what they like. Go get it. And I show up to them with coffee and they're like, oh my gosh, it was random out of nowhere. And guess how much bang for my proverbial buck I just spent from that small act? Huge. Your team will run through walls for you. They will work double hard for you. And you'll accomplish more than you ever could accomplish by yourself. So that's why working with teams and together is a huge, huge deal if you know how to do that. And that's where I can come in and help.
Yeah, that's the reality. If you know how to do that, and building these types of cultures within your business is so vital. And Adam, how have you guys been helping contractors? Because I want to connect people with you for sure.
Yeah, so I've done some things with some coaches in the industry, and I've come in and taught some aspects in the some conferences. And so first thing I do is I teach on personality profiles. In other words, understanding how people are wired. And so I'll come in and assess that you're a full team yourself, first of all, because it's really important. You don't know how you're wired. You kind of have an idea, but literally I'll spend 10 minutes with you and I'll tell you things about yourself that you didn't think anyone knew. Okay, which scares people, but it psychs people at the same time. So coming in, just an assessment on where you are as the owner, who your team is, and everybody laid out. And then we do some fun game interactions of like, hey, what about this? How you think about this? Oh, you communicate like this. And what's interesting about that, and I break people up into groups of how they're wired, and then I tell them how they communicate. And then I ask the other team members, do they? And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah. And it's like light bulbs go off. It's like aha moments. I like to say this, I'm an aha bringer. I like to bring ahas. Like, oh, that's why. 85% of all conflict comes from communication issues, and I can eliminate 85% of them. Just understanding a few simple techniques. And that's essentially what I do. I help you understand how you're wired, how your team's wired, how to communicate with them. So much so that even my team, I've trained my sales guys that every client, we identify their personality and we communicate with them totally based on their personality. Every interaction with them is based on how they're wired. And I've had clients tell me, man, you guys just get me. I'm like, more than you know.
No, I think that's super important, and I've seen it in person. I watched you do it at Jim Johnson's strategy event last December, and it was one of the coolest things that we'd ever seen. I think Ricky and I were there, and we were both looking at each other like, man, this is kind of scary how accurate this is about us right now as we were standing around the room. It was one of the most fascinating things to watch. So I appreciate that. You also wrote a book. What's that book, and where can people get it?
So it's called Success Habits of Superachievers. I co-authored the book, was honored to be in there with people like Darren Hardy and Les Brown and Phil Collin, which is the lead singer, guitarist with Def Leppard for years. Todd Stoudemire, NBA, NLB, Major League Baseball player, Hall of Famer. Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. So it's all about these authors coming in and talk about their success habits, the habits they do that they feel like make them successful. And so it's amazing. And so you can get it at Amazon, Success Habits and Superachievers. It's on any Amazon. You can get it on Kindle.
I'll be sure to include a link to it in the notes here in the description so people can go ahead and grab that.
I appreciate that. You can get on Kindle for those auditory learners or the hard book. I'm a hard book kind of guy.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's pretty phenomenal. I feel privileged just to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And that's great stuff, man. And Adam, thank you so much for joining us and just talking a little bit, because I think that getting yourself out of that rut of solopreneurship and seeing the advantages to having a team that surely outweigh so much of working on your own. Working on your own is one of the most probably most scary places to be as an entrepreneur, because you don't have that support, you don't have that team, you don't have those people around you that are holding you accountable and making you better. And this is a dangerous place. And so I want to encourage other people to reach out if you're struggling with this issue where you just can't seem to get outside of yourself. Like, reach out and get some help and learn from people like Adam that have great advice, and they can help you build a team and start to develop a culture that people are just attracted to.
And here's the thing, John, nobody got into business to do everything themselves, right? Because if that's the case, just go get a job, work for somebody else. All you're doing is, what happens if you can't work anymore, or something happens to you, God forbid, right? Not only this, it's all on your shoulders. When you have a team, man, everybody's helping, everybody's together. There is actually freedom in that. And I'm about freedom. You went into business for freedom, financial freedom, but also time freedom. And right now, solopreneurs do not have any time freedom. And so I'm going to help them time freedom and actually have a team they enjoy spending every day with.
I agree. Folks, Adam Buttorff. Adam, thank you so much for being with us today. It's an honor and a pleasure to get to spend time with you. I look forward to hopefully seeing you on the road at some point soon.
Absolutely.
If we can ever get out of here. But I know our paths will cross, and I'm encouraged every time I get to be around you. So thank you so much for doing this. It's my pleasure.
Hey, thank you, John. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Are you doing something unique, innovative, or just plain cool with your contracting business and want to show off a little bit? We'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at showcase@americancontractorshow.com and let us know what you're up to. We'd love to hear from you, and maybe we'll feature you on a future episode.